Okay, we're back here again. Beautiful, look at the rainbow. See it, Darragh?
Wow.
Look at that rainbow. As we walk up the hill. Just something else. Okay. So Darragh, I'm going to try and go a little bit ahead of you.
Yeah, no worries.
So tell us, how is it going? What does it feel like to be at this? Coming to the end of your journey?
It's incredible, and I'm starting to stream where I originated the idea. I was sitting on an island, highly vibrational island, abundant in its wildlife, its insects, its birds, its bees, its trees, its mussels, its fish, just flowed in full symbiosis with itself. And through this, I seen an inspiration to carry this vibrational spirit of abundant nature and flow within the wildlife and balance within human and ecosystem. So within this, I was doing a lot of meditating in forests, and I started to get this urge to carry this energy from one place to another to create an impulse of that energy through the land. So how was I going to carry this? And it came to me in a fire, that this energy would be brought into the fire and I would be able to carry it through an ancient grandfather to the centre and the heart of the earth. Now, this didn't just happen easily, that I was just gonna, it wasn't like a genie popped out of a fire and was like, you must take the fire and go to the centre. So it was a whole synchronicity of events. So I have this idea in my head that I'm gonna carry a fire from one place to another, and this idea in my head is not necessarily settling very well. So it all came into play when the boat arrived. So this big Colin Archer is like the holy grail of boat building in Norway. It arrives up at a harbour. I begin to talk to the captain, because he comes out and he's a big pirate looking man with big golden teeth and a hoop earring, and he's talking to me about my sailing experience, and I'm very interested in his boat. So I'm like, well, how old's the boat? Like, where'd you get that? I knew it was a Colin Archer. They're quite famous in Norway, those style of boats. So during this, he's like, I could really use a deckhand to get up 50 miles south. I'm going to a place called Grimstad. And during this time, I said, I'm off work for 2 days, coincidentally. So I agreed to go and sail with him. During our sail, he tells me why he came into the harbour that day. That he seen a flame, he seen fire in the harbour. He thought there was a boat on fire or a car on fire. That harbour was a 3 mile inlet and 3 mile outlet, a 6 mile offset from the coastline track he was on. So when he explained to me of why we met, what brought him to that meeting, I knew I had to explain the thoughts and the impulses that were running through me at the time to carry this sense of abundance from one place to another to spark fertility and growth. So I tell him about this, and he's like, you have to come back to my house. And he lives up in this huge old oak forest, and in this stone circle in a huge oak forest we light a huge fire. And after this fire, he says, I have everything you need to complete this journey. He had a boat, he had a stove, he had all the wood, power tools, and a group of lads to help me. So I'm like, I don't even know what to do then. I'm like, I'm trying to get involved in this without even trying to get involved. So I'm thrust into this journey, and I'm in full trust in what I'm doing, just by the symbology of everything that was happening at the time. I would go into a shop or go into someone's house, and there'd be sailboats all over the walls. There'd be sailboats on the shores. I'd be seeing fires in different places, and it was just the right thing to do. So then I set sail from the east coast of Norway. I set sail on the 15th of November 2019 from the east coast of Norway, beginning my sail solo on a 28-foot Colin Archer, 3-metre beam, 8-ton ship, completely wooden. Had an engine when I was leaving, and then I sailed from the east coast right around to the west coast. From there I done a crossing. Well, the first attempt of the crossing didn't go successfully. I had one attempt at the crossing with a Danish man, which went quite bad. We got caught in a huge storm. Battery fell into the engine room, melted the battery, lost the 2 pumps, had to bail out for like 14 hours to get back to Norway. We had to go back. Then the next day, the Danish man leaves because the boat is looking like it needs a lot of repair, and the weather is not looking great also. So he's like, I have to go back to Denmark, man. I don't think it's going to happen for you. And I'm sitting there with a kind of smashed up boat. Spirits are low. I'm keeping the fire burning because it's keeping me alive at this stage. So then a man arrives and brings me to a little island. He says, I tell him the story, and he's like, I live on an island 4 miles west of here. I am a boat builder and a boat engineer, and I can help you to fix your boat and get it ready. When he says this is a huge motivation for me to keep going. When the right people arrive at the right time, then you know you're following the time. I went over to his house and he taught me everything about the sea. Taught me how to navigate with paper charts. Taught me how to fix all different parts of the boat, mechanics, and all different sorts of electrics. He was like, man, if you don't know this stuff, you're going to die. So he really laid down the law. He even had me cleaning the engine with a toothbrush. So after all this, 10 days it went. I spent 10 days with him training, fixing the boat, cleaning the boat, tip to toe. Weather opened, I took it. Sailed 4 days solo to Shetland Isles. In Shetland Isles was hugely successful sails, absolutely beautiful. What I realised that my energies had to be completely pure to myself, and anyone that was on the boat had to be in pure belief of this journey, or else the elements were not, and it wasn't going to work. So that's why it didn't work the first time. So then I made it to Shetland Isle, made it down to Orkney Isle, and then I had to make a big jump around Cape Wrath. Now Cape Wrath is one of the most dangerous sailing quarters in Europe. It has a Minch coming up, it has an Atlantic coming one way, and it has a North Sea coming one way. So you have like 3 swells that arise out of one corner of a cape. On this cape I got into a bit of trouble, and during this bit of trouble I was meant to make it to Kinloch Burvey. Didn't make it to Kinloch Burvey, got dragged out in a riptide. Knew I wasn't going to make it. Ended up in a place called Loch Arable. Loch Arable is a loch. It's a sea loch in northern Scotland. In this sea loch I got shipwrecked. I had no option during Storm Brendan. Storm Brendan ripped my boat apart. I was 48 hours at sea battling a storm before I called it a day and said, I have to bank the boat. It's either this or I'm going to be lost at sea or I'm going to go into some jagged rocks. So I banked the boat, was shipwrecked in Scotland for 2 months, because when I banked the boat I went in on a full moon high tide right up the top of the beach. Now full moon high tide, the water only goes that high once 3 days in a month. So I had to wait a full month. The next month the boat didn't float. The next month I had all buoys, so I was 2 months in January and February, winter time, in the Highlands of Scotland. You have sleet, you have snow, you have rain, and you have very, very, very cold. So I ended up making a decent little wage up there actually though. Where I landed was quite rich in periwinkles, and during the winter time periwinkles go up in the price because no one picks them during winter. Like, why would you? It's freezing cold and you wouldn't really do it. So I made a fair wage while I was on the rocks in Scotland, enough to get me back around. Now the engine went down when I banked the boat, and it was a huge lesson to me that I wasn't paying respects to all 4 grandfather, grandmother elements. All 4 I was using an engine. I was eliminating the wind and the water. I was not paying full respect. So the Highlands of Scotland was a huge test to my character and a huge test to my belief in this journey. It said to me, if you have the strength to rebuild and refloat this boat, then you will have the true honour of flowing with all 4 elements to complete this journey. So that was a huge test of my character, my belief and my strength going forward. From then on there was no engine on the boat, so the dynamics of sailing was completely different. I was completely in the midst of all the elements. I was in the heightened seas. I was sailing through mountains days and days without sleep. Wet boat, you're crowding around the fire. The fire was the heart. If I didn't have the fire I would have died. I would have been wet, I would have been cold, the food would have been cold. It was the hardcore centre of everything. So then I make it down the west coast of Scotland with a lot of crazy days in between. Make it to the Irish Sea, make it over to Rathlin Island, touch base in Ireland in Ballycastle. From Ballycastle I made it down the east coast of Ireland, going around down past Wexford, up around Cork, and made it to a place called Valentia Island, where the boat is currently in Valentia Island. Now, I before I left, I was working on a project with a boat top gypsy wagon and a horse, and I trained 2 months with one of the best horsemen in Ireland, Paddy Hanley. He's a master horseman and does four horse carriage driving for different events like funerals, communions and weddings and movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, War Horse. So he was really a master horseman. His whole life has been dedicated to horses, so I really learned from the best, and this man provided Sandfire. Sandfire is a very, very special horse that you find very hard to find a horse like this. So
a beautiful horse, I must say. Sandfire is.
He's amazing.
You know, you dropped in on to Valencia, so there you are, all right, and you prepared your journey from Valencia to Uisneach.
So that was a big change in events. I was going from being completely isolated for 10 full months at sea, going from place to place, being completely alone. I'd meet people every now and again. Now this is when the virus came in, so I was completely alone. Sometimes you wouldn't even be able to go into harbours. Everywhere was shut. So I really went from being completely isolated to going straight into community. As in, I met up with a few friends who were really interested and really inspired and helped me along the way. So we were in Valentia Island with a really great group of people, and we decided we really wanted to inspire the people and bring the fire back out in the people. So we wanted to show them the inspiration of the people through food. So we began doing cook-ups along the way. We had cook-ups in Valentia Island, Carroll, 25 people over an open fire. We had lambs on spits. We were really celebrating the abundance that the fire was bringing. People were giving us too much food that we could eat. So we were like, we have so much here, we may as well cook up for the community. We have enough here to cook for 20 people, why not? So we would invite all the local people. People came down playing music, telling poems, telling stories, poetry. It was absolutely amazing, the magneticness the fire attracted, the smell of the grandfatherness, the horse and everything. It really opened up the Irish people and the Irish culture into a really, really special passage for us, and we have been so welcomed and are so grateful for all the people who are present that made this possible.
So, and as I say again, you're so welcome to Uisneach, Darragh.
Thank you very much.
And Dad. It's great to see the family out. What we'll do now, we're just going to take a quick look at the cart.
Okay, yeah.
Dad holds the horse.
Yeah.
We'll have a look at the cart. We'll have a look again at the fire. See that it's still burning brightly.
Yeah.
At this stage, we're so close to it, so we're doing well.
Yes. So this is a 125-year-old cart from Lyon in France, and was supplied to me by also Paddy Hanley. This cart probably has a lot of history to it itself, and this is how we have been transporting the flame. Now this has been transported like this down a lot of roads, and
flame is burning brightly.
And in the also, this was actually purchased before I even went to Norway. I got this box here, which represents the journey by sea. So this box here was actually purchased before I even left Norway. This is part of the symbology that kept me motivated. When you see things like this that make synchronicity and everything flow, like meeting the right person at the right time, things like this was bought before I went away. So it's all motivating to me when you see symbols. I look around for symbols to know if I'm walking the right path. And symbols and looking around you in your whole environment all around you can tell you hints and signs whether you're walking the right way or the wrong way.
Okay, well look at what we're going to do now is we're going to maybe cut the broadcast again.
Okay.
And here at Uisneach. What we're going to do now is we'll make our way to where we're going to bring the fire.
Okay.
And Darragh, you will be actually quenching the fire. That's the idea.
I will. I'll be putting the fire into the ground in respects to all 4 elements. So the water, the wind, the air, and down into the earth. So he can go back down into the heart and pulse from the heart out, like planting a seed that will consistently begin to pulse and begin to spread throughout the whole planet to create fertility and growth within the wildlife and the nature and our whole environment itself.
Okay, well done, Darragh. Talk to you in a little while again.
Thank you very much.